For today's American Artisan, I'm here with truly the American Artisan, Bruce Aidells. Thanks for having us up here at this amazing place, but really anxious to get started in the kitchen and put together porchetta.
Absolutely, and some green fennel sausage.
Tell me a little bit about, I know this story somewhat, but how did you become this really icon in the sausage business, the pork business, or really even bigger than that? Where did this all begin?
Well, it didn't follow a straight path if by any stretch. No, I plan to become a scientist, and I'm trained as an endocrinologist, which brought me to England as a postdoc, working in their very famous cancer lab, studying hormones and breast cancer. And one of the things that I learned to dislike in England was the famous British banger, which unfortunately is a mixture of bread, fat, connective tissue, and a certain amount of meat.
Yeah,
it's the only country on earth where they actually tell you the percentage of meat because it has so much other stuff in it, particularly the bread. So just for the hell of it, my girlfriend and I decided we'd make our own sausage, and we had a copy of Julia Child's Mastering the Art of French Cooking, Volume 2. So a lot of charcuterie. And it looked pretty easy, and so that's what we did. And it came out pretty good. And actually some of those original recipes, including the one we're going to make today, which is my fennel sausage, was made that night, way back. We're talking 1975, a long time ago. So my last science job was at Berkeley as a postdoc in the lab of a guy named Donald Glaser, who got a Nobel Prize in physics. And so he figured he couldn't go any further. Bottom line was he lost his funding. But that was fine because I really was probably a better cook than a scientist anyhow. And along came this gal who was opening up a little charcuterie in Berkeley called Poulet. This gal loved chicken. And I loved pork, so I was able to persuade her to let me do some pâtés and sausages. And that lasted for 3 or 4 years, so I was the head chef, and it did really well. But we didn't really get along, so ultimately I got fired, which is probably the best day of my life, actually, well, after graduating high school, because then I was forced to go out on my own, and that's when the Aidells Sausage Company was born.
Shall we hit the kitchen?
Absolutely.
Let's do it.
This is the green fennel here.
So we're the green, so get rid of this.
Get rid of the dry. So we need 2 ounces.
Okay. So get rid of this.
Well, no, and then the dried. Yeah, we don't need that. So where I live in Sonoma wine country, we have a very nice weed. It's wild fennel, and you really can't keep it back. It's everywhere. Every empty lot, side of the road, the works. And this time of year, well, we're in the fall right now, it's just mid-September, we still have the green fennel seeds, and that's what I like to use for my Italian sausage. It's got more flavor than dry fennel seed, it's more subtle, and it's really good stuff. But the bitch is to harvest this stuff. So you can imagine that this was originally the little yellow flower, and in order to harvest it, you actually got to kind of use a scissors and just kind of clip it off. You can get a little stem because the stem is soft enough to chop up, so that's pretty much how you harvest it. We've got our meat cut into nice big strips, which will just get plunged into this hole here. But to kind of get the seasoning mixture going, so we're already dispersing a little bit, we're gonna put the seasoning with the meat. We're going to continue to mix it later, but this will kind of give us a leg up. This is our salt, and I'm not going to add it all because once it's added, you can't get rid of it. So there's our salt. The single most important ingredient. You can't make sausage without salt, and you've got to get the right amount. Some fresh chopped basil, those wonderful green fennel seeds, fennel pollen, which has its own unique flavor. So we're getting 3 different flavors for fennel. We're getting the pollen, the green fennel seed, and then we're actually going to use a little ground fennel seed.
Bruce, how's my mixing actually going here?
It's a little lethargic. Get in there. Get in there. So you want it to come out in nice little worms. I'm liking the look, so I'm not gonna add any more fat. You know, I think it looks good. I'd say it's about 20–25%. I'm just gonna taste out for salt. Well, I'm glad I didn't add all the salt. I think it needs a little more.
I think a little bit, but not too much, huh? I'll put about.
You can go a lot faster. So you use that to measure, then you measure that one. And then it'd be 2 smaller ones. So I hung in there for 4 years at Poulet, and then one day I got fired, and that was right when the whole Cajun and Creole craze was beginning, early 80s.
It was percolating, yeah.
And I was making a little bit of andouille sausage for Poulet and selling it to some of the local chefs, like Jeremiah Tower, for instance. And I thought, I think I got an opportunity here, because everybody wanted it, including my wife, Nancy Oakes. So that's how I met Nancy, because she had a good old boy, Gaines Dobbins, from Mississippi, and he wanted to make gumbo. So he needed his andouille sausage. So, and it's literally a matter of knocking on doors in those days. I mean, everybody wanted it. It was such a fad.
So andouille was really the anchor for the sausage.
It was absolutely the anchor, and my intention was never to make anything else. But then I got called by this little kind of fancy deli, the Pasta Shop in Oakland, and they got tired of making their own sausages, and they weren't very consistent. So they used to have me come in after hours and make their sausages. So that was a little moonlight job that I had. So we expanded the line, but I really had no intent. After working in a place called Poulet, I got pretty sick of chicken. Yeah. So I had never intended to make chicken sausages. But then I had a sales gal that said, everyone's worried about fat. Everyone's worried about fat. This is, the 80s. Yeah. You got to make chicken sausage because everyone thinks it's healthier. Okay. And so that's how we got into the chicken sausage business. And with chicken and apple, which is ubiquitous now, I don't think there's a store in America that doesn't have it.
I was going to say, even the original, and then the amount of knockoffs that
there's knockoffs everywhere.
Which
is
we all get faced with that, right?
Yeah, which is a form of flattery, I suppose. This is some amazing skin you got. I'm very impressed. Salud.
Salud. Cheers.